Hi, my name is Dr. Richard Horowitz. I'm a board-certified internist. I live in Hyde Park, New York, and I've just written a book called Why Can't I Get Better? Solving the Mystery of Lyme and Chronic Disease. And I'm here today to share with you some of the essential points of why Lyme disease, tick-borne disease, and really all chronic disease is something that we all need to be concerned about, and why I'd like to share with you a few minutes talking about this epidemic. Lyme disease has now become an epidemic in the United States and worldwide. The CDC just recently released numbers that Lyme disease is 10 times worse than they previously suspected. For example, they previously told the American public there were 30,000 cases of Lyme disease a year. Now they're saying it's 300,000 cases that are showing up in the American population. But if you look at the numbers, it's actually worse. Mary Beth Pfeiffer from the Poughkeepsie Journal just did an investigative reported piece in my hometown and found that 0.3% of the American population was exposed in 2012 to Lyme disease. That means over 900,000 people were exposed to Lyme. But the numbers are probably even higher because the lab testing that they used is inaccurate. It only picks up about half of the cases. Many people with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, autoimmune diseases like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, they are not going to be picked up because doctors don't even know that Lyme is mimicking these autoimmune disorders. And when I was in China several years ago, and I was lecturing and speaking there and collaborating with the Chinese government, they told me 6% of their population had it. And that is with inadequate testing. So this is an epidemic that we need to be concerned about because it's spreading worldwide and it's mimicking every disease known to mankind: fatigue, muscle aches, joint aches, tingling, numbness, burning, headaches, memory, concentration problems, depression, anxiety, sleep disorders, chest pain, shortness of breath, palpitations, dizziness, light sensitivity, sound sensitivity. All of these symptoms can be from Lyme disease and tick-borne disorders. These are all common symptoms we may live with every day, and they may be caused by Lyme disease and you don't know it. Lyme disease also is a big problem, as well as other tick-borne infections, because it could be transmitted through the blood supply and also be transmitted from pregnant women to their children. So for example, a child could be born with a woman who was not aware that she had Lyme disease, and the child could be affected for the rest of their life, where the child might have memory and concentration problems, learning disorders, arthritis. This is very dangerous for the children, and some of the children don't even live. Lyme disease can kill a fetus, as can other tick-borne infections like Babesia and Bartonella. So we have a big problem on our hands because women who are pregnant may be getting tick bites, they're not aware of it, and it's being passed on to the child. And if you don't get it from a tick bite, you could get it from a blood transfusion. Some of these newer tick-borne diseases like Babesia, which is a malaria-like organism, anaplasma, you can get from a blood transfusion. So these are spreading epidemics. They can be passed on from mother to children. We really have a big problem on our hands, and we need to be very concerned about this. The reason we're having such a problem with the spreading epidemic of Lyme disease and tick-borne diseases is we don't have a reliable blood test. Unfortunately, many of the health departments have told doctors to screen in a certain way, as have the insurance companies. The problem is that the screening testing that they're telling doctors to do miss at least half of the cases of Lyme disease. So we have Lyme disease, which is one particular strain or species of an organism. We have all these other strains of Borrelia. So you could have, for example, a Lyme-like illness or Lyme disease, and we do not have reliable blood tests to pick it up, and you go from doctor to doctor complaining of fatigue, joint and muscle pain, tingling and numbness, my memory's not working, I can't sleep. All of these symptoms, the doctors can't find a reason, and they tell you it's in your head. You must have a psychiatric condition because we can't find anything wrong with you, but it's the testing that is so unreliable. So we really need better diagnostics to pick up all of these different tick-borne diseases. Part of the success that I've had in treating these 12,000 chronically ill people who come to me from all over the United States and all over Europe and the world is applying the 16-point model that is not presently being used in medicine. It is explained in great detail in my book, Why Can't I Get Better? So if you are suffering from chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, muscle pain, joint pain, neuropathy symptoms, meaning tingling, numbness, or burning, your memory's not working properly, you can't sleep, you're anxious, you're depressed, this model can be applied to the symptoms that you're having and can discover, possibly, at least in most of the cases from what I've seen, why you are staying chronically ill. And right now, this model is not being applied in hospitals or in clinics across the United States. The only reason I found it is I kept searching for answers as to why my patients were staying chronically ill. So we need to use this model and we need to move it out into the communities across the United States and the world using this model, because right now, chronic disease is costing the United States 75% of all of its healthcare costs. 70% of all the deaths in the United States are due to chronic disease, and I have a model that I believe can help everyone. So we need to validate this model. We need to get better testing, better diagnostics. I've developed this model over 26 years, and I know that this model can help many people who are suffering with chronic illness, who have gone from doctor to doctor without answers. So I would ask you, please, at this point, please, we need to fund this model. Chronic disease is the #1 problem that we have worldwide, and Lyme disease and tick-borne diseases is the #1 worldwide epidemic. It's spreading like wildfire. We don't have a good, reliable test, and people are suffering and they're being called all of these other diseases. We need you to help us, to work together with us at this point in time to get better diagnostic tests, to find better therapeutics, to take the model that I've used and make it even better so that we can solve some of the world's problems of chronic diseases that are affecting you and your families. So thank you so much for listening to me, and anything that you can do to help us to solve this epidemic and to work with us in a partnership is so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.